Welcome to a special episode of Insects for Fun. We're coming close to Halloween, and I've decided to tell some scary stories from people who have had some pretty creepy encounters with insects. And as always, if any of you has something scary to share, you can send me an email at insectsfordummies@gmail.com. Now let's get into it. This story comes from Spoons That Bite. I was 11-ish and sleeping on the top bunk of a bunk bed in a basement. I woke up in the middle of the night with a spider half the size of a dinner plate on the ceiling, just inches away from my face. As I went to roll over to get out of bed, it dropped onto me, and I nearly spontaneously combusted. My roll out of bed turned into a swan dive, and I have arachnophobia to this day. Honestly, that's terrifying. I mean, if that were me, I definitely would have just swan dived out and probably broken something. All right, this next one is for all the ant fans out there. When I was a kid, about 8 or 9, I was taking a shower. A few ants started to crawl in. Now, I was used to this because our house had many ants. Just little sugar ants, you know? So I just brushed them down the drain, not thinking much of them at all. However, a few more trickled in. A little uncomfortable with all the antage, I decided to cut my shower short. Well, you have no idea the absolute horror I would be met with. As I slid back the glass door, I glanced down at the side of the tub so I could step out. Instead of its usual white though, it was a writhing mass of black. My way out of the shower was completely blocked by what looked like an entire colony of ants. I was trapped. I screamed and panicked, but when my parents came to see what was wrong, they saw that I had locked the door. Like an absolute moron. I had to face this horrible wall of evil. I had to step over the monument to my suffering, praying I didn't touch the ever-changing pattern of blackness. And lo, I stepped. And I yeeted out of that bathroom so fast you'd think Sonic and Flash had a child. And I was it. Ever since, I've had a phobia of bugs, mostly ants. It's lessened over the years and a lot over the past few months since I got a pet tarantula. But I will never, ever be okay with ants. Now, if you thought that one was bad, I got another one for you. It was dark. My partner and I were watching a movie. I wanted a snack, so I went to the cupboard and grabbed an open packet of lamingtons. I sat back down and proceeded to eat one. But my mouth felt kind of spicy, and the little coconut bit seemed to be moving. That's when I realized I made a terrible mistake. I ran to the sink to spit it out while my partner turned the lights on. Ants. I accidentally ate a boatload of ants. Man, I have never done that, and I'm so glad that I haven't, but I can imagine what they felt with the spiciness in the small kind of crunchy bits. I've seen a lot of nature shows and people eat ants, of course, and that is something they mention with some ants. Not all, but you know. This next story takes place in France and comes from Le French Boy. We rented a house in the countryside when I was like 16. My bedroom was in the old basement, made out of rocks and all that. It was crawling with scorpions, centipedes, and other insects. And yes, there are scorpions in France. The fact I had a phobia doesn't help any of this, so I did what I had to do. Took a mattress and slept for the 2 weeks in the living room next to the chimney. However, one night I noticed that there was a buzzing sound coming from the chimney. Pretty odd. I didn't want to chance it though, so I took some insecticide and sprayed the inside. Next thing I know, a swarm of hornets comes flying out. Turns out there was a nest in there and I really messed up. All of them entered the living room and were flying around. And you better believe I spent that night under all my blankets, almost suffocating. I mean, yeah, dude, you sprayed insecticide in your living room. I would also be suffocating, but I get it. I would have loved to know what happened when the parents finally figured it out or how this guy managed to ever leave. But unfortunately, he never wrote again, and I don't have that information. This next one is a doozy from Jay Booksy. Here we go. Alrighty, strap in, fellas. It was 2 years ago, and it was my last day in Tennessee. I was about 30 minutes from Nashville, getting ready to start my day, and to go to Nashville Pride. I go outside to move my car because my friend's dad was weeding at the curb where I was parked. Just as I'm about to walk in the door, I feel something hit my ear. I go to the bathroom and start shaking my head, trying to get whatever it is out. That's when I feel it go inside my ear canal. I still wasn't sure what it was at this point, so I go upstairs and tell my friend, I think there's a bug in my ear. She thought I was joking, or didn't take me seriously, so we went downstairs for breakfast. Her mom had made muffins, really good muffins by the way, but that's when I started to feel it move. There is no pain worse than a bug trying to escape your ear. They finally realized the seriousness of the situation, and we started trying to figure out what to do. Her mom tried to flush it out with water, but it was too big. They had to go to the store and get peroxide. Longest 15 minutes of my life. They got back and put the peroxide in my ear, and they ended up killing it, so at least it wasn't moving anymore. Now, it's at this point we decide I need to go to a doctor, but the closest hospital was in Nashville, 30 minutes away, and I was the only one able to drive. As my friend is blind as a bat, and if her mom drove, she'd have to bring all 6 of the kids. So we opted instead for the urgent care down the street. Big mistake. The woman poked and prodded at my ear, gave me no numbing treatment, and yelled at me as I cried from the pain. In the end, I left with it still in my ear, side of my ear and head covered in blood, and exhaustion taking over. When we got back to our house, I felt defeated and decided I was going to take a nap. When I had woken up from my nap, her mom had told the entire neighborhood. And one of the neighbors was a military doctor. He had all his supplies at his house and offered for us to come over and get this situation dealt with. He put 5 numbing shots in my face, as well as a numbing gel. And then he got a long, thin pair of plastic tweezers and worked the insect out of my ear. All the while, his 5-year-old daughter is sitting there asking, "Is the bug out, Daddy?" But after a little while and some mental obstacles, he got it out. It was a Japanese beetle. Fat one, too. He said that the urgent care women made it worse, and it was stuck in dry blood. He gave me a cola and an ice cream, and I was good to go. My hearing is still not the same. I probably need a hearing aid, and I am horribly afraid of bugs. Well, that's my story of the beetle and my ear. A freak accident that I will remember forever. Still mad I missed Pride. Wow. All right. That's awful. I've had flies, enter my ear before. Not like actually go deep in there, but just stuff kind of flying in around my ear. But to have a Japanese beetle just get down in there, that sounds awful. And I know Japanese beetles. They're really hard. I'm sure you felt them too. And their legs, those are not nice, especially not to have in their ear canal. So, yikes. Everybody just be careful, Today's final story comes from a guy in New Jersey, and it goes like this. I'm at work in a hole dug out of the ground for a foundation. Notice there's about 40 other species stuck in this hole, so I started making ramps for them out of plywood and putting them in the corners. I noticed some large spiders are also in the hole. I live in New Jersey, and these were wolf spiders, probably eating other insects / small amphibians. Most of the frogs escaped after about 3 hours. So after lunch, I go in to make sure everybody's all right down there. Now I see a little frog stuck in the mud, struggling to get its way out. I reach down to pick him up as my boss asks, "Hey, what are you doing?" I look at my boss, feel the frog on my hand, reach my hand in the air and say, "Saving this little guy," as I see the look of horror on my boss's face. I look at my hand. There's a wolf spider the size of my palm, crawling down my arm as fast as it can, with an egg sac. Long story short, I scrambled all over the site for the next 10 minutes trying to make sure it was gone. Now I'm never trying to save a frog again. All right, that concludes today's special episode of Insect Horror Stories. I'll have another one lined up. Maybe release it on Halloween or a little after. Halloween is a Tuesday though, so we'll be having another mainline episode drop that day as well. Anyway, happy Halloween, guys, and thanks for listening.